If you are a man who wants to grow, to become a stronger leader, a more proficient provider, or just more disciplined, if you are putting in the work to change your life and change your world, and the going feels slow, this video is going to change your entire world. Today, I am going to teach you the ultimate lever point for human change. The ultimate hack, shortcut, whatever you'd like to call it. And if I had understood this principle a lot earlier in life, it would have saved me years of development time. It would have saved me a ton of pain along the way. And if you choose to apply this to your life, it can help you approach your world and your potential in a completely different way than you ever have before. Look, we all want change. We all want something different. And it does not matter what our station in life is, regardless of where you have come from, where you're at now, you would like to see an even better version of that. And that could be a better marriage, a better sex life, a better physique, a better spiritual walk, an ability to hear from God, maybe more money, a certain car, a certain house. It doesn't matter who you are. You want to better your situation. You want something different. You want to obtain a brighter future than what you have right now. You want your future life to be better and different and more fulfilling than your life is now. By the way, there is nothing wrong with that. A lot of people can get the idea that there is some sort of shame or guilt to be involved with wanting a better life or wanting more or wanting to obtain something great or having a grand vision of the future that may be bigger than what you have right now, even if your life is wonderful. And especially with Christians, for some bizarre, strange reason, there's almost this guilt or piety, this virtue in just being happy with what you have. Now, I'm not talking about being discontented. I'm not saying that greed is a good thing. We should be content with what we have and be grateful for what we have. But there is nothing wrong with wanting more and wanting to expand and wanting to govern more of the world around you for the right reasons and in a healthy way. So let's get that out of the way right up front. There's nothing wrong with wanting to grow. Change and progression is a part of your design as an individual. It's a part of your fulfillment in life and your sense of happiness as a human being. Tony Robbins famously said in one of his writings that the key to all human happiness can be summed up in one word, and that one word is progress. And don't just leave it to Tony Robbins. God's first command that he gave mankind was this. In Genesis, I believe it was 1:28, it says, "Then God blessed them, and he said to them, 'Be fruitful and multiply.'" This was right after he created man. "Fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on earth." We were designed, created, and commanded to not only change, but expand and progress and become something more and establish dominion outside of our current realm. So there is nothing wrong with wanting to choose something more. You should want to progress. It's a part of what makes you feel whole. It's a part of the reason you were designed and created. The problem for most people, including me, is that most of us choose to pursue transformation in the wrong order. We go about it in the wrong order. And I know firsthand, again, because I've done it, and every single individual that I've ever worked with, every single man that I've ever coached approaches it this way as well, or has approached it. It's very rare if you don't. First, we choose the easy, lazy way because we're human. We want everything for nothing if we can get it. That's why so many people go for free items. It's why people use free as an opportunity to get you to give them your email address. Humans like free, we like easy, we like cheap. We like to get something for the cost of nothing. That's the way we are. And so our instinct, the first thing we do is want something for nothing. And oftentimes, this is why people are living paycheck to paycheck or in debt. We can all think of it. You can probably picture an instance in your mind right now where you wanted something and you chose because you could put it on a credit card or something to that effect, that you could get something that you haven't yet earned. And maybe you went and reached for it, but this is what puts people in dangerous situations, causes them to not develop and be the types of individuals that can then care for, maintain, and expand what it is they've obtained. If we can't get something the easy way, if we can't put something on a credit card, we can't buy it, well, we move to the next thing. If our pain is great enough and the demand for change is necessary enough for us, or we simply want the change bad enough, we move to step 2. And step 2, still out of order, is we then start evaluating and asking, what must I do to have this thing, this result, this thing I want to obtain? How can I get that? What must I do to get it? Now look, do is great. At least now your mind isn't thinking about how you can grab something and get it without working for it. At least now you're in the mindset of how can I earn this? That's a good thing. But in order to obtain something new, we've got to do something different because more of the same equals more of the same. We've all heard that statement, right? The problem is that when we want to obtain something new, we've got to instill new actions, new thinking patterns, and new habits into our lives. And that's the hard part. These aren't even necessarily hard things to change. The habits that we want to instill, the right actions that we want to take, implementing them and the actions themselves are not hard. It's the implementation of them and developing the discipline within our own lives where the challenge really resides. And so oftentimes we can get in this mode of do. I'm going to evaluate what top tier people do, what grand achievers do, what world changers and leaders do, and I'm going to identify some of the actions that they are taking, and I'm going to go about those things, and because I go and do that, I will end up with similar results to them. It's a good way of thinking, and in essence, you're right, but these habits and actions and thoughts are counterintuitive to the way you are already thinking and behaving. That's why the struggle of implementing them is such a major challenge in your life. It's not because you don't know what to do. It's not because you can't go and do them. It's because you are not an individual who yet does those things, and so they are completely foreign to you. The way of thinking, the way of behaving, the way of seeing the world, the type of decisions that you would make. It's counter to who you are. And so I've done this, again, I spent a lot of years in this, but we will go about trying to work harder at the doing and the fighting, the going against the grain of who we are on the inside to implement these discipline patterns, whether it be push-ups or cold plunges or saying affirmations and all these actions that are good, and in a way they are shaping us from the outside in, but we're still going against what is going on in here. And the reality is that actions follow thinking. Certain people get certain results because of the actions they're taking, but they're taking those specific actions because of the way they're thinking. So what if, instead of working so hard, instead of dedicating yourself to daily disciplines and waking up with alarms and saying affirmations and using all of these habit trackers to try and change your results and who you are from the outside in, what if you reverse that process and you focused first on the individual inside of here that produces the type of thinking, that produces the type of actions that you want to take, so it will produce the kind of outcomes that you want in your life? It's a complete reversal, but it doesn't have to be so hard. You are who you are. You think the way you think, and you act the way you act. But think about the man you want to be, the way he thinks, what he believes, his priorities, the inconveniences he willingly chooses in order to have the long-term result that he wants. The difference between where you are now and what you're doing with your life and the future man you want to be and what he is doing is nothing but thinking. It is all in the mind, and it's all about belief and the perspective with which you see the world. Think about when you were a kid pretending to be a superhero. When you wanted to become Batman, you didn't just start pretending. You got into character. You put on the cape. You changed your voice. You walked about the world and approached it in a different way, knowing who you were. You stepped into a character so that you could be that superhero. This is a practice that you need to take on in your everyday life. It is the ultimate way to fake it until you make it, Choose to be the character that would make the decisions and take the actions to get the results you want. By the way, this is scriptural. I'm going to read you a couple of scriptures. Proverbs 23 verse 7 says, "As a man thinks, so does he become." You don't become just what you do. You become the way you think, because thinking produces actions. In Romans 12 verse 2 it says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will." 2 Corinthians 10 verse 5 says, "We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ." This is not about controlling your body. It's not about controlling your hands. It's not about controlling your eyes. It's about controlling what's going on up in here, because this dictates everything else. Everything else follows. So rather than trying to change this from the outside in, try to change yourself from the inside out. It's the ultimate lever to make sure your actions align with your identity. You must become someone new to produce different life results, because everything in your life is an extension of you, the way you think, the decisions you make, and the actions you take in this life. Proverbs 4:23 says, "Guard your mind above all else, for it determines the course of your life." And Ephesians 4 verse 22 through 44, sorry, I think I have the verses wrong. That's too long, but it says, "You were taught with regard to your former way of life to put off your old self, which is being corrupted by its deceitful desires, to be made new in the attitude of your minds, and to put on the new self, created to be like God in true righteousness and holiness." When we opt to change ourselves according to this pattern, rather than have, do, and be, if we reverse that process and choose to be, then we will do so that we can have. And when we go about things this way, actions don't become slippery stepping stones to creating who we need to be. They become a reinforcement of who we are, of our new self, reminding us of who we are, and it gives us the body of proof to walk in confidence, knowing who we really are. Step into the character you are supposed to be. Get very, very clear on what he has, what his life looks like, the fruit of his actions, what he looks like, what his fitness routine looks like, what his scriptural time looks like, what his interactions with his wife looks like, the way he sees the world. Step into that character. Step into the man that you are supposed to be, that God created you to be and designed you to be, that you were called to be, that you haven't yet become. Choose to think, choose to decide, and choose to act as that man, and you will have the results that he has. I'm Gabriel Alexander. If you like this video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, give it a share if you like, and if you want to find out any more about me or get on my email list, go over to forgerofmen.com. If you want to find out about the community of men that I lead and that I'm a part of, you can go over to freemenforge.com. Talk to you guys soon.